Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely pumped for this one because we're unpacking a fascinating topic that really gets right to the core of how money actually works in the modern world. Today, we're looking at the 7 real-life financial secrets that rich people use to build wealth. And look, these are the unwritten rules, the everyday strategies that for whatever reason, schools simply never teach us, and society almost never discusses openly.
You know that feeling, right? It's incredibly frustrating. You work hard your entire life, you put in the grueling hours, and yet you still find yourself struggling just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, someone else just seems to get richer and richer with every passing year. Most of us just assume the wealthy simply have a huge salary, but honestly, that's not the real secret at all. Okay, let's dive into this.
The absolute truth is that wealthy people operate on a completely different set of financial rules. And let me just clear the air right up front here. We are not talking about illegal tricks, and this definitely isn't some wild secret conspiracy. Instead, they're using specific, very deliberate financial strategies that allow their money to grow faster, work harder, and just completely multiply over time.
To really understand how they pull this off, we need to break it down into phases, starting with phase 1, the spending shift.
Okay, so this is the very first major mindset shift, because how we choose to spend our money today directly dictates our financial reality tomorrow. The average person spends their hard-earned income on things that immediately lose value. You know, expensive clothes, luxury cars, the newest phone. A brand new car loses, up to 20% of its value literally the second you drive it off the lot. It's wild. These are liabilities, and they're just quietly taking money out of your pocket every single month. But rich people, they think totally differently. Before they spend a dime, they stop and ask themselves one very simple question. Will this put money into my pocket or take money out of it? Their whole focus is on acquiring assets, things that actually generate income or increase in value over time.
So, what do those assets actually look like? Well, here are the specific vehicles the wealthy use to build their wealth: stocks, rental properties, businesses, digital products, and royalties. The wealthy are just relentless about acquiring these assets first. They leave the luxury stuff for way later. Actually, that's exactly why so many millionaires look surprisingly, ordinary in the early stages of their wealth-building journey. They prioritize actual, tangible ownership over just looking rich to their neighbors.
And it really all boils down to this one foundational truth of the wealthy mindset. Assets buy luxuries, not salaries. They absolutely do not use their paycheck to buy the fancy car. Instead, they use their paycheck to buy an asset, and then the income from that asset is what pays for the fancy car. Game changer, right?
So once you master how to spend, you have to master how you earn. That brings us to phase 2, the time and leverage shift.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is how it completely reframes our daily hours and our earning potential. You see, the ultimate trap most of us fall into is trading time for money. You work a certain number of hours, you get a paycheck. Simple. But if you stop working, the income completely stops too. Rich people fully understand that there are only 24 hours in a day. No matter how incredibly talented you are, your earning potential is strictly capped if it relies entirely on your time. So to break out of this trap, wealthy individuals build systems, like investments, businesses, or intellectual property, that keep generating money without their constant everyday effort. That's passive income. Eventually, their money is literally working harder than they are.
Building those systems requires a totally different relationship with time, which brings us to secret number 5. Look, most people want immediate results. We want instant success, quick profits, fast returns. But rich people play a much longer game. They think in decades, not days. When they invest, they're picturing exactly where that asset will be in 10, 20, or even 30 years. They favor long-term patience over the total illusion of overnight success.
And thinking in decades allows them to unlock one of the absolute most powerful forces in all of finance: compound growth. By making small, steady investments consistently over long periods of time, those little amounts snowball into an enormous amount of wealth. Wealth rarely just magically appears overnight. It grows quietly in the background over time. In fact, the wealthy know that patience is often way more valuable than just being the smartest person in the room.
All right, we've covered spending and earning. Let's explore phase 3, the risk shift. This phase is all about reframing how we manage risk, leverage, and capital. Let's talk about the dreaded D word, debt. Most people are terrified of it, and honestly, bad debt absolutely should be feared. Credit cards, high-interest loans, borrowing for stuff you don't really need, that destroys wealth. But wealthy people understand there's a massive, massive difference between bad debt and good debt. You see, debt is simply a tool. Good debt is borrowed money used strategically to acquire assets that generate income, like, say, financing a rental property or expanding a profitable business. They aren't borrowing to look rich, they're borrowing strategically to actually become richer.
But here is the secret that literally changes everything. Secret number 4, protect your money before you grow it. While the average person is out there focusing 100% on just making more money, the wealthy focus equally on protecting what they already have. Why? Because, let's be real, losing money is much, much easier than earning it. Making money is great, but keeping it, that's even more important.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how they do it. Diversification. Instead of putting all their eggs in one basket, wealthy families spread their risk across different asset classes. We're talking stocks, real estate, businesses, and solid cash reserves. They also build up strong emergency funds. Now I know, protection might not sound like the most thrilling topic, but preserving wealth is the #1 reason rich families are able to stay wealthy for generations.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. Phase 4, the ultimate shift.
These are the absolute crucial personal investments you have to make to not just build wealth, but to truly sustain it over a lifetime. Long before many wealthy individuals ever invested heavily in assets, they invested heavily in themselves. Books, courses, high-value skills, mentorship, financial education. They know that the absolute greatest investment isn't actually in the stock market, it's in the person making the decisions. Think about it. A person with valuable skills can lose all their money and just completely rebuild. But a person without knowledge, they can receive a massive windfall of cash and lose it all in a heartbeat. Knowledge creates opportunities, and opportunities create wealth.
And that education naturally leads to the biggest financial secret of all, shifting from just being a consumer to focusing heavily on ownership. Most people spend their entire lives simply buying products, but rich people, they aim to own the products, the companies, or the assets that generate the profits. Every single time someone shops online, uses a digital service, or buys a physical product, money flows directly to the owners. Ownership creates leverage, and leverage creates wealth. And hey, you don't even need to go out and build a billion-dollar company. Simply owning shares of successful businesses puts you on the exact same side of the table as the wealth creators.
It all comes down to a really profound realization that perfectly captures the entire wealthy mindset. Workers earn income. Owners build wealth. Your income might pay the bills for now, but it's your ultimate ownership of assets that will actually build your lasting wealth.
So, bringing this whole thing together, the wealthy don't have access to some secret magic formula. They simply follow these 7 principles that most of the world completely ignores. They buy assets, they build passive income, they use good debt, they protect their wealth, they think long-term, they invest in knowledge, and they relentlessly focus on ownership. And honestly, the best news of all, none of these secrets require you to be born rich, and literally none of them require extraordinary luck. They just require patience, discipline, and the willingness to think a little differently from the average person.
Because ultimately, wealth isn't built by doing what everybody else is doing. It's built by understanding how money truly works. I really want you to remember this key takeaway. The goal of all of this isn't to just look rich to the outside world. The goal is to become financially free so you completely control your own time and your own life.
Which leaves us with this final thought to reflect on as we wrap up. Take a good, hard look at your habits, your spending, and your mindset. Are you making decisions today to become financially free? Because that journey doesn't start decades from now. It begins with the very next financial decision you make. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this completely changes how you look at building wealth. Keep learning, keep growing, and I will see you next time.